Hello, everybody. Thank you, Jess, for the introduction. Uh, to start first, let me present myself. So, I'm Patricia. I work with Sophie for almost 6 years now. And I'm also proud to say that I'm with Sophie since the beginning when everything started. Originally, I was focused on knowledge creation for Sophie, which is a fascinating area, but also I was in charge of implementing and managing projects in Brazil and Latam. And currently, I'm living now in Germany to also manage and support Europe with a Sophie project. Okay, just a quick introduction of me. First, to start again, thank you, Whoopi, a lot for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's really nice to be at the same event that all of those guys that you're gathered together for this event. We have such nice names, good people speaking to everybody today and yesterday. This is really nice, and thank you once again. So yesterday I could see, and I think we're going to see that today as well, Sophie being applied to many different areas, in many different areas, and being analyzed by different perspectives. So we could see Sophie being used in ITO area from human resources, being applied for SAP implementations. And if you look closely to human resources, for example, only you could see Sophie being present on the onboarding processes by training, use it for recruiting. So this means that Sophie can be present in distinctive moments of the user journey or even the user life. And yeah, this is fascinating, really, from my perspective. This is really interesting. Not only from, and I say that not only from a product perspective, and it's really suspicious for me to talk about Sophie because we have a really relationship together. But I'm talking about also by the user perspective as well. This is really interesting to have Sophie almost everywhere, you know. So when we start planning to build a Sophie, it's really important to take that into consideration. So in which scenario you are going to apply Sophie and be really user focused when we are going to plan that. So it's important for us to understand to whom we are talking to, and I'll explain that a bit in more details in a few minutes. But we look closely to the user to guarantee the quality of the conversation, to understand the issues that user is dealing with in each situation, and to create a flow, a conversation that engage them to talk with virtual agents, to talk with Sophie, to run to Sophie when they have a problem to solve. So everybody who works with customer support knows how important it is. For example, the tone of voice that you're talking with your final user, how important it is to hear, to understand what user is saying, how important it is to provide solutions when user needs a support, you know, and not only simple solutions. The user needs good and fast solutions. So when it comes to Sophie, we need to consider the very same aspects when we are thinking to customer support. So who was my student in the past has heard that a lot of times. But when we are creating a Sophie or any other channel of communication between a company and an employee, or a company and final customers, is really important for us to know first our public. So to whom Sophie will talk to. So what are their average age, their interest, the moment of the journey they are living, the context they will come to Sophie to solve their problem. So this is really important to know when we are creating a Sophie, to know to whom I will speak to whom I will deliver a message. The second topic is the message, the content. We need to know the troubleshootings, the procedures, what information should I give to the user, in which model, in which tone of voice, in which step, you know, I have to orientate user through guiding during the problems, how to solve them, for example. And the third pillar is the personality we're going to add in the chatbot, for example. And to build this one is really important to know the company, know the user and the content, of course, but know how the company wants to be perceived by their user. It's a bit of brand study here to have that same image that the user can see that this chatbot is part of the company, not only a generic chatbot. So this creates a personality that will engage the user through the conversation, and they will have like a really nice dialogue between human and the chatbot. So having those three pillars well defined, we are ready. You can say that we are ready to start working on the design of the conversations to each situation, to each scenario. Okay, and I say design of the conversation because we need to think in each dialogue flow how your user will behave in each situation. And people that normally attend the user is the people that know the public better. So normally we involve those people as well when we are implementing a project of Sophie. But I need to say, and Louise already said that, this is an endless job. Sophie needs to be constantly updated. She needs to learn even more every day. User feel that Sophie is learning, have new knowledge every moment. So this is important also to engage the user and create loyalty. So they see they can ask something if Sophie doesn't know. Maybe in the future she will respond that it won't take too long. This is important to have Sophie always being updated. Okay, and Fabio mentioned in his speech as well that we have many different technologies coming up every day, every week, and we need to be aware of this. But complementing this information, we can see that people behavior is also changing every time. So the way we talk with users also needs to change constantly because people are changing, and people always change their behavior. They ask in a different way, they know a different technology, they change a bit their expectation of the technology. So regarding that, the acceptance we have of Sophie today is quite different from the cultural conflicts we have faced in the past, like Luis actually was saying that. So years ago, we felt that the final user was accepting anything less than humans to attend them, even if that meant to be waiting on the lines, on the telephone for minutes or even hours to receive the solution of their problem sometimes, just to exemplify. And today we have lots of people working from home with flexible working hours that sometimes do not match anymore with the traditional support availability of work we have normally. So we need to be flexible, and the user needs to have that flexibility to fit on their new journey. So they need some support 24/7. They need that to be fast. They need that to be efficient, to manage their time. I have some notes here not to lost my timing here for you. So interesting, we also felt the similar resistance from those who were providing support in the past. So people thought that, okay, this type of technology is coming here to steal my job. Maybe this is a philosophical, was a philosophical question in the past. But this assumption is, AI and Sophie did not came in the market to steal jobs or to replace position. Actually, Sophie and AI replace tasks. They replace boring and repetitive tasks, not jobs at all. This is really important to mention. By the way, with our experience implementing Sophie, we have not seen people being fired as well, and this is not our goal, basically. The natural movement that we see happening is Sophie dealing with what is repetitive, what is standard, and humans dealing with more complex flows, the ones that needs some decision making, for example. And Sophie is more a member of the group, a member of the support team that brings efficiency to the processes. Having Sophie on the team together with the service desk brings efficient to process, make things speed up, and also generate savings for the company. This is important to mention. Um, in fact, like Luis was saying, I'm mentioning Luis a lot here, but we have done implementation focus on Sophie supporting the agents themselves. So helping finding answers in a fast way, taking small issues to solve, running scripts on the background to make some activities faster in order to support the agent supporting the final user. So again, we can see Sophie working many different areas, in the same context. This is, again, really, really interesting. And coming back a little bit for the content creation context, uh, thinking on the agents as end user really important during this process of attendance is mandatory when we are creating content for Sophie. I mean, the first goal we have when we are implementing Sophie, of course, is to solve users' problem by herself with no human interaction, with no human contact. But sometimes it's not possible. So, for example, if the user needs to change the mouse because the mouse is not working anymore, at least today, Sophie cannot go into the desk and grab the mouse and replace for a new one. So in those situations, she needs to transfer this attendance to a live agent, to a human. And she can do that whether conversation to a live agent and keeping the same interface, for example, or registering a ticket or something in an external system. So she can transfer that to a live agent. And when we transfer this attendance to a human, we need also to send them relevant information so they can continue the flow until the end, and we can still guarantee that the user will have a really good experience, that the user won't need to explain everything over again to the analyst once they explain it before to Sophie. We can use Sophie to ask relevant information from the user, to ask the user to run some testing, for example, and we send that information to the analyst, for example. So we can use Sophie to, we have those two publics as main objectives when we are creating knowledge to Sophie, to customer support. So we think about the final user and also the analyst is really important, not to forget any one of those. So yeah, last but not least, I just don't want to lose my time here. I would like to emphasize how content is key when we are creating chatbots, virtual agents, or thinking about customer support. It's really important to be updated. It's really important to know exactly how you're going to communicate with your final user, in which channel. So this is something that is really important as well. Sophie is an omni-channel, so she can be available wherever your user is. So being on the user, the web interface that can be applied on internal portals, intranets, and etc., where your user normally access to solve problems. Or she can be available on Skype for Business, on Teams, or Google Chat, for example. Is important for Sophie to be easy to reach, to be as a point of contact, that if she cannot solve users problem, she can transfer for someone who do that. So it's really important to think about that, to have knowledge in mind, and do not forget that Sophie needs to be constantly improved to create this nice relation between users and the virtual agents, to create then loyalty. That's what we think is really important for when we think of customer experience, when we think about customer support. Okay, I think now I received some questions here. Let me see.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Alex. Hi.
I'll make the questions.
Oh, sure. Please do. I was
Okay.
reading you, so yeah.
No. First of all, thank you. I mean, Patricia is our first and in my opinion, our best knowledge train ever. Uh, Another one of those people that is going spread around the world to defend the colors of Sophie. Um, You have been doing that since the early days, and it's hard to say how important you are, because it's not that you are a good knowledge trainer, because when it comes to you, it was not a ready tool. So I mean, many of the things that we have implemented into Soph over the years, they came from you and your team. So I mean, yeah, you made it easier to use, you made it more efficient. So it's not like you are a very good user, you help us create the whole thing. And I'm so happy to see you there. Our first deals in Europe coming, our first implementations in Europe coming. Now we have the small team fully dedicated to the things you are doing there. It's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, it's such a great story for all of us. And did you freeze? Apparently, Patricia freeze. Well, it was a nice smile. I'll give her 30 seconds. So connections in Germany, they fail sometimes as well. We had this, I call this presentation witch. So we had this presentation witch with Paulo yesterday, and I kept speaking. So I'll continue to speak while Patricia comes back, or not. We still have some minutes, but it's very cool what she has done. I mean, when we started Sophie, obviously we didn't know how important curated content was. You are back. So I was telling some stories. Oh no, it's not. It's not a problem, because it's. I say it's the presentation, which it happens a lot. I'm used to it now. So I have questions for you, and then I finish the comments about when you started this with us. Uh, what's the main industry adopting Soph in Europe right now?
Okay, so Stefanini is huge on ITO, so we can see that many clients ask for it to have Sophie on ITO. We can also see clients asking on human resources, as I mentioned, also in procurement and also in retail. So if I had to pick some, I would say ITO, human resources and retail.
Okay, so I mean, in Brazil, obviously, you participated in many of our implementations, all the main important ones on the early days. Early days is not so many time that many time ago. We're talking about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, we started the big ones. And what's the difference in Europe? I mean, how are the clients? How do they feel? How do they behave? What you could say, if you can say something that is different in this new challenge that you're facing and leading now in Europe.
I see. Yeah, we can see a few changes here. Unlikely Brazil and United States that has a huge territory with one single language. Here in EMEA, we have like many different cultures. That is also really interesting, but it makes us to take a closer look to multi-language feature that Sophie has, how Sophie could respond in different languages and be friendly at the same way. And not only the language itself, but also the segmentation of the content, because once we have different countries involved in the same operation, for example, it's really common to have different procedures to each country, So sometimes you have to give different responses if the user coming from Italia, if the user is coming from Australia. So they have different procedures. So despite the language, which is a challenge for us to have Sophia available in many different languages at the same time, it's also interesting to see how the contents need to be well defined depending on the region. So we can explore a lot this type of feature that Sophie has.
Really cool. How's the German improving?
I hope it was better, but it's going well. Germany is a fantastic place. It's being really friendly to me, so I have nothing to complain. I just need to improve my Deutsch. I need to assume that.
And this first implementations in Europe, which are the main languages?
So first we're starting with English, but we plan to improve that to Portuguese, to German, and Spanish as well.
Okay,
They are the
Portuguese,
first on
Spanish.
the radar.
We have done a couple of those, but
Yeah,
German will be a challenge. We are making an implementation right now. I think it's 14 languages, something crazy like that. And
yeah,
one of the amazing things is the segmentation that Sophie allows. So, I mean, instead of having many bots in many technologies, you have just one system running all of those and then segmenting or separating the users by country, by service catalog, by credential, and that's an amazing feature of Sophie.
yeah, yeah. And one thing that is important that I didn't mention in my speech, but there's a third user that is important that to make that happen, which is the editor, the content editor. So this one is the guy that is
Which you
giving
have led for
between.
many years, all of them.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, to manage all those segmentation of knowledge, to have Sophie in multi-language is only possible because we have a really robust platform now that allow us to do that. It's easy to manage. We don't need to be any developer to do that, and we can have easy access to main feature directly on the main panel. So this is really important to make this possible.
And last question, and Bogdan, also from Europe, comes next. Um, how do you see the evolution of the platform? Because you were the person that tested the first one. We didn't even have a version right there back then, and now it's so organized. I mean, every 3 months we have the releases, then we have the partial releases every 2 3 weeks, and it's all tested. But we didn't know everything, or any of those things back then. Uh, how do you see the platform? How do you see the evolution?
Yeah, this is a tricky question because we are doing a lot of things now. We can see every month. I don't know exactly how many times Fabio normally launch different versions of Sophie, but we can see that we have many changes every year. Many things going on, and we still have many things on the radar. But here in EMEA, we have to take a really close look to multi-language. This is something that is dealing, taking of attention here, and also the usage of polymath. So we did a demonstration here using Sophie and polymath together in a way that we could use the best of both worlds in order to have a really mature knowledge base since the beginning. So this is important. I know, I mean, we need to start Sophie, we normally say that, small and keep growing with the time. But when we start with the baggage of knowledge already, and also with polymath bringing extra unsupervised responses on Sophie, she can speed up her implementation, to be closer to the user even faster. So I think we have a lot to explore using polymath together with Sophie, and I think will be a lot of next steps now, and also voice.
Yeah, and there is already new things coming after this event that Janderson showed the other. So it's not like
Yeah,
that we explore new answers. Now she creates answers herself. But
exactly.
well, you are the one that will help us explore that as well. Thank you, Patty.
I
Always great
remember
to talk
once,
with you.
if you
Yeah.
allow me to tell this story, the first moment that Sophie got her mind, so she was starting to think by
The new
herself.
one, version 3, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I saw that and I got crazy. Oh my God, she's thinking by herself. But then I realized that it's best to stop a crazy than to push a lazy. So I prefer her thinking too much in order for us to have to push her. So this is a new word for Sophie, and polymath. It's a new era as well.
Thank you. Great talking to you. Bogdan, Director of Digital Transformation in Europe, comes next.
Thank you
Keep
very much.
tuned. Bye bye, Patty.
Bye, everybody.